For the final time in 2022, it's time for Ask George. Well, hello, George. 3-0 win in Pakistan. That's quite a good ending to the year for England.
Incredible. I mean, a brilliant result. And as you say, a brilliant end to the year, which, halfway through look really miserable. England finish it with 9 test wins in 10 games and as world champions in both white ball formats. Kind of good, isn't it?
Well, Andrew Davis starts right there and he asks, England have had test sides who've been best in the world before, and this side aren't there yet. But as current T20 and 50 over world champions and having won 9 of their last 10 tests, is this the best England have been in red and white ball cricket at the same time?
Wow. Well, it's a legitimate question. I mean, I think statistically it isn't, is it? I can't remember off the top of my head, but in 2011, they would have been T20 world champions. They might have been rated number 1 in ODI cricket by then. Might not have been quite. And they had won the Ashes away in Australia and eventually went to number 1 in the world. Was that against India? So statistically it isn't. But I think that the question's fair. I mean, double world champions and on this run in Test cricket, you say they're not the best in the world, but I mean, I don't know if the World Test Championship, if they were in it, I don't know if it was played in England next summer. They probably would be favourites, wouldn't they?
Probably.
So but a really interesting question, and whether they're the best they've ever been or not, I don't know. But they're certainly doing really, really well, and it's a fantastic resurgence.
Andrew Brooks asks, are we allowed to have this much fun? I'm fascinated to see what opponents do to combat England's new approach, and he wonders if teams will fight fire with fire or try and not get dragged into England's aggression.
Yeah, well, really good questions. Yes, you can have this much fun. It's meant to be fun, isn't it? And it has been. It's been brilliant. How will teams play? I think Australia will be dragged into it, don't you? But I still think maybe you could frustrate England a little bit. People aren't going to declare and set them targets, are they? Let's see, because I think New Zealand will probably play on very flat wickets. It'll be quite interesting to see how that goes. But then they're not as good a side as the last time England went there. So I don't know. But when people come at you in the way that England are, it probably rattles sides. That old Mike Tyson line, everyone's got a plan until you punch them in the nose. And England are punching a lot of sides in the nose right now, aren't they?
Joshua Owen asks, is Andrew Strauss the most significant figure in modern English cricket? Feels like everything he has done both on and off the pitch has led to huge success for the national team.
It's a really interesting question. I had to say, when I saw that come in, and I was surprised by it. Because you think, I suppose just because of recent things, the High Performance Review seems to have died on its arse a little bit, doesn't it? But it is legitimate to suggest that Andrew Strauss has been a hugely important figure. I mean, firstly as captain, when he led a really good England side. And then he was responsible, I suppose, for sacking the sort of Peter Moore's regime and appointing the Trevor Bayliss regime, which helped England to that 2019 World Cup. And I guess he was very important in appointing Rob Key as well. So it's a legit point, actually. He is a very significant figure, and maybe with lots more to come.
Where do you think the High Performance Review sits now, given that England, when it was first mooted, England were in a bit of a tailspin. Now, everything's rosy for England.
Well, it's not, of course. But, no, I don't think it is. But it probably sits on a high shelf with lots of other reports, the Ackfield report and a million other things. I thought it was agenda-driven and opportunistic at the end of the Ashes, and probably wanted to implement things, but it wasn't brave enough to say what it really wanted, and it didn't look at all the issues. So it didn't look at the number of first-class counties, for example, or the 100. And so there were 2 significant elephants in a room. I've never been in a room with 2 elephants. I imagine it's quite crowded. And so it was a bit of a waste of time, I think. But actually, not everything's okay. One of the unfortunate things about the reaction to the high performance review, and I didn't like it any more than most of the people who I'm just about to complain about, but we have ended up fighting for a status quo that I thought we all agreed was rubbish. So that is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, that's an error, probably a significant error of failure in his career, but in Andrew Strauss's career. But every career is going to have these ups and downs, and there's still time for another. There will have to be another review into English cricket, because what we have at the moment doesn't optimise the amount of talent that's out there, or lots of things. But everyone knows all those issues.
Lord Enzoni asks, which players have enhanced their reputation and cemented their place in the team, and which ones are not looking so certain of being long-term fixtures in this side?
Well, I think I've just done performance ratings for the series, and we do them at the Cricketer from A to F or something. I think it's just a whole lot of A's. So they've nailed it. I mean, they've absolutely nailed it. People are saying Ben Duckett's a horse for courses selection. It's a bit better than that now. Ben Duckett's tough to drop right now, so I'd be surprised if he doesn't open in the Ashes. Of the other players, I mean, who hasn't improved their reputation? Ollie Pope has, even Zach Crawley has, who's had one of the more modest series. I think Ben Foakes has. I mean, and what do you say about Harry Brook? No, they've done really, really well. Ollie Robinson's a huge step forward in this series. And that young fellow Jimmy Anderson, he did quite well, didn't he? So, has anyone had a poor series? Well, Joe Root, I suppose, by his incredibly high standards, had a modest series, but I think he's all right.
Steve Rowe sticks with selection questions and asks, Leach or Ahmed, who do you pick when you only need one specialist spinner?
Well, probably Leach, but maybe that's terribly conservative and rubbish of me. But Rehan is 18. There's quite a lot more to come. I think Leach still bowled most of the tough overs in this series. He bowled a lot of overs too, didn't he? Bowled more than anybody else. And I still think that if you're going to play a spinner in New Zealand, and they probably will, it's still going to be Leach, isn't it? But maybe that's just my old-fashioned conservative thinking.
Where do you think Will Jacks fits into the picture? Because obviously he takes a 5-for-run debut, then isn't really used in the second test, and then not in the third.
Those are the only wickets he took in the series. I thought he was really unlucky. But again, he's a player in development. How old is he? 23? I thought that he had really good natural attributes and just needs to bowl a lot. Now, whether he'll get the chance to bowl a lot, I don't know. I think he's in the IPL draft, isn't he? Auction, rather. He might have a lot of white ball cricket ahead of him. Obviously, he's a destructive batter. He's going to need to bowl a lot. And that, I suppose, is the slight worry about Rehan as well. Those guys are going to need to build up their overs and just gain experience that way. I can't see him playing Test cricket again for England immediately, or Liam Livingstone. It's possible. That's Liam Livingstone's Test career, which would be a shame because I think he's got a lot to offer. But just being realistic, how does he get into the side? They played Joe Root ahead of him as the offie in the last test, and I can understand that because he can do a job. But I think Will Jack's ceiling as an off spinner is really quite high, actually. So, who knows? But it's going to be quite hard for him maybe to get the volume of overs he requires. I mean, let's remember that he's playing for Surrey ahead of Amir Verdi, who I think we all thought was going to be one of the more exciting spinners in English cricket in the last few years. And, he's just not getting a game anymore. So Jax has the benefit of staying in the side because of his batting. But how much red ball cricket will he play and how much will spin be required in it? I don't know the answers to that.
Stevie Wonder, not the Stevie Wonder, I presume, asks, do you think this victory needs context? Pakistan are not a very good team and England's dominance is reflective of where the team are at.
Well, it's a bit miserable, Stevie. That's not Stevie, the Stevie I know. I mean, he's got a point. Obviously, this is a modest Pakistan side and you have to acknowledge that. Of course you do. But there have been modest sides before. and the conditions are still very, very flat and difficult to achieve victories. I think you wouldn't want to be churlish about it. England deserve a huge amount of credit. And they keep doing it, you know. I mean, the first line of the piece that you're waiting for patiently from me this morning is that people said they couldn't do it against India, and they wouldn't be able to do it against South Africa's pace attack, and they wouldn't be able to do it in Pakistan, but they keep doing it. And 9 wins out of 10, you know, well, let's not always excuse away success, yeah? So sometimes just stand back and say, really well done. And I'm trying to think desperately of a Stevie Wonder pun. And they're all rubbish, so I can't. And that's annoying because it's very early and I'm sure there are thousands.
And finally, Mr. Cronenberg comes in with a completely un-cricket related question, but we'll ask it anyway. What is the best gift you've got out of a Christmas cracker?
I really wish I'd read these. Christmas cracker gifts are rubbish. Oh, but I got a sort of vintage miniature, but not that miniature, bottle of brandy once in a Christmas cracker a few years ago, which was really, really lovely and stuck out. But they're not brilliant, are they? Christmas cracker? Yeah, should have. Yeah, we could do better with Christmas cracker gifts, couldn't we? Rather than little bits of, not, I was going to say single-use plastic. They're non-use plastic, aren't they? They're just little bits of tat. But anyway, I should say Happy Christmas to everyone and thank you for all the questions throughout the year because, it'd be a lonesome old show without them, eh? What's this John Terry nonsense, by the way? Where did that come from?
Oh, I don't know. Someone just commented thinking you look like John Terry, and then someone else
Where? On Twitter?
on YouTube, and then someone else agreed that now that they've said it, they can't unsee it.
It's a funny thing because John Terry's he's younger than me. He's more athletic. He's probably better at everything, and yet I'm still offended. Should I have got changed into my England kit? Should I have been wearing pads to do this? And go, yeah, we played pretty well in Pakistan. Should I have done it like that? Would that have been more John Terry?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Well, on that bombshell.
Yes, Merry Christmas.